Values have always had a great impact on the American society, and it's especially out of the families themselves that you can actually measure this great impact. In fact, one of the greatest places to measure it might actually be by looking at, say, the president, and especially the presidential campaigns that led up to the recent election that ended in the re-election of Barack Obama are a great showcase to show just how important family values are to the Americans. Traditionally, the president's role has also been that of a patriarch, as sort of all-knowing father for the United States of America. And that is why it's also very important to associate the president with family values, as his role as a patriarch is very much like that of a father. So you can kind of draw some perspective between the president and how he has been treating his children and grandchildren as a father, and the role that he plays towards the United States of America as a patriarch and president. Here we see a photo of Dwight Eisenhower's grandson David having a birthday party for his family. Traditionally, it has been very important to show the president as a family man that the average American can relate to, but also to showcase the president as a great father, not just for his family, but also for the country. In this photo, Eisenhower is attending the birthday, and yet there's still a distance of sorts, as if he's not on the same level as the children, which you can see by him standing behind the children and not really being sort of on level with them. As a contrast, we here see John F. Kennedy and his two children in the heart of the White House. On the picture, we see Kennedy with his two children dancing on the floor. And Kennedy is clearly on level with his children as he's sitting there and clapping with them, and he's giving them his full attention, which is a bit of a contrast compared to Eisenhower, who seemed to have a bit of a distance between himself and the children in the picture. And the tendency to have a president that was kind of on level with his children clearly continued, as we here see Ronald Reagan building a snowman with his son and his grandson in front of the White House. The picture could have been taken from an everyday American's life, but here we see that the role of the father has changed. In the same way that Kennedy was on the same level as his children, so is Reagan. This is a great contrast compared to Eisenhower, as he was kind of distant from his family. While the other two photos showed the president taking time off from work and spending time with his children, they also seemed rather staged. Here we see a picture of the former president Bill Clinton and his daughter Chelsea. Their body language clearly shows they have close relationships, but Clinton still seems to be a very busy man, but still cares for his daughter, and he some way managed to spend some time with her despite being so very preoccupied with his work. The tendency to show kind of everyday pictures from the life of the president continues, as we here see a picture of George Bush and his two newly born sons. Once again, the picture shows the situation we can relate to. Bush is sitting in a hospital and holding his two newborn sons in his arms while wearing a dirty t-shirt, which just goes to show that other than being the next president of the United States, he's still an ordinary dad who loves his children. Eisenhower, for example, would never have let this picture be taken while he was wearing a dirty t-shirt, as it wouldn't have matched his image. Finally, we see a picture of the newly re-elected President Barack Obama and his two daughters, Malia and Sasha. The picture shows that even though Barack Obama is the President of the United States, he still manages, just like Clinton, to spend a little time with his children, despite being very caught up in his work. Their body language just tells us a lot. They have an incredibly close relationship that we haven't seen in previous pictures, and maybe even closer than Clinton and his daughter. It's seeing as Barack Obama has all of his attentions directed towards his children. As time passes, the American culture changes, and so does the president's role as a father. Of course, he's always had to be a great father for both his children and the United States. But as time has passed, we've seen that the president seems to have grown closer to their children and have become less formal and stiff, so to speak. So why is it so important for the president to show that they have these family values through their image and pictures and their speeches? Well, one way to find out is to look at Obama's acceptance speech from the National Democratic Convent, where he mentioned a lot about his own family, about sticking together and being there for each other. He focused a lot on how our parents have given us everything they had to do the best for us, and how he intends to do like his parents did for the future generation. This follows the trend that it's very important to show these family values, as it shows kind of a personal side of the presidential candidate. He shows himself as a member of the family and everyone can relate to that. He also does it to show the American population that it's not just all about politics, but the family is important too, and the great community between all Americans is just as important. In Obama's speech, he talks about an average American family where everybody in society has to help each other. We have to secure a good future for our children so they can get into college and get a good education where we're working together and helping each other as a society, not just as individuals working for our own benefit. And naturally, when the president has such great focus on family values, so does anybody that wants to become the next president. And you could look at Mitt Romney's acceptance speech, where he also talks a lot about family values. He mentions a lot about an American family in an idyllic society where everybody helps each other. The children are secured a great future by going to college and getting an education. And on Sundays, you go to church to show your gratitude to God for everything He's given to you. And by pointing out these values, he shows another side to him, a softer side that's not just about the politics and the number crunching, but he also manages to show himself as a family man, which all of the voters can relate to. And this is also something that's very important in the American presidential campaigns, is to give a certain image of the presidential candidates. As the Americans, you can kind of say they don't just vote for the politics behind the man, they also vote for the candidate himself. So it's important to present a certain image of the presidential candidates and to kind of get to know them for the average voter before they determine where they place their votes. But now you might ask, if the relationship between the presidential candidate and his children is so important, what about the relationship between the presidential candidate and his wife? And the truth is, the wives actually do play a rather big part in the kind of the image that you have to build to become a successful presidential candidate. In fact, the wives also play a huge role in the image of the presidential candidate, and that's why the wives of the potential president always get to speak at the convents. The wives help build this picture of the president as more than just a cold-hearted politician that's kind of an avatar of the party's policies, but rather also the candidate as a person, which is very important because, again, the Americans don't just vote for the politics behind the man, they also vote for the man himself. And that's also part of the reason why Michelle Obama held a speech at the Democratic National Convent. She helped flesh out this background of behind Obama, behind the politician, and she helped kind of build his ethos, build this story of the person behind the politics. Of course, as a first lady, Michelle Obama herself also has a number of duties, and she also does an enormous amount of campaigning when she's not running for elections. But in general, the role of the candidate's wife is to support him and help build his image and build his ethos, make him more of a believable person, and make it more likely that the voters will vote for him based on his personal stories.